welcome back to another video. So we've got here a piece of red deal, and we've got a handful of tools and the basic toolkit that we looked at on Sunday. Mallet, one chisel, plane, and a marking gauge, a single pin marking gauge. So they're all the tools that we're going to use in this video. Okay, so you've got a very gnarly looking piece of red deal, and I've deliberately not dressed it. It's an offcut, it's the end of a board. Got a little bit of rocking that way, but much more that way. So what we're going to do, we're going to cup side down. I'm going to very briefly just work out which way our grain's running, because it could be gnarly because of the knots. And then we're going to take our jack, and we're going to take what we can, if it's going to cut. What's going on there? Taking we're still going to rock a bit, so now I'm going to back the plane up a touch. And all I'm doing at this stage is making it sit on the bench. All I want to do. That's better. Clear that rubbish away. Right, so we want to put a rebate in for something. Doesn't matter what. Let's go with that side. So we want to put a rebate into this piece of board for our, I don't know, for a door casement, or you know, a window casement, for example. And it's too big for the rebate plane we've got. So I'm going to go with the full width of the chisel on this one. It's about 1.25 inches on this particular chisel. I'm going to do the depth by eye. And I could get away with this one, because of its width. I could get away with planing this, but we're not going to. I'm going to show you a method to do it by hand. Because it's an important skill to learn, because it can get you out of trouble when it comes to doing the big mortises and that sort of thing. You can can do a lot with this kind of work. So I'm just checking I'm not going below my line. And this may not be something you're used to or you want to see, but I can assure you, before I had a spindle moulder, it's something I did a mighty lot of. You know, don't get me wrong, I would take a rebate out like this. If I was in the workshop, I would take a rebate out on the spindle moulder, because the spindle moulder excels at this kind of work, and I'm not afraid to use it. Okay, yeah, this is donkey work, but just because it can be done by machine doesn't mean it can't be done by hand. Both quickly and efficiently. And I would still do this if I was going to rebate plane it as well. If I was going to take the big badger plane, I would still come in for the really big rebates, and I'd take the worst of it out with a chisel, because it is vastly quicker. Yeah, you've got to keep an eye on what you're doing. That's why I'm chiseling. It's on the bench top, it's not in the vise. I was taught to work in a vise, always. You always put your work in a vise. And I hate it. I detested these record type of vices for many years because they would always slip. I always thought with the work, but actually I realised it was because I was using the vise wrong, not because the vise was wrong. For now, I'm just waste removing it. I've not been overly keen as to where I'm cutting just yet. It's about to be. Right. So I am for a second going to go into the vise, because want to start and clean this shoulder here up a bit. And I also want to get in on this end and see where I'm going, because I don't want to dig too deep on this line. Right, so I've got to be a bit careful because it's trying to pull me into the line, cutting this way. So I'm probably going to turn the piece around, which I know means you guys aren't going to be able to see quite so clearly. But just for a minute. Because that's actually cutting much nicer. And this is what I was saying at the start, I want to just check which way I need to be cutting for both faces. I'm literally just paring straight down from the line now, by eye. What I was doing, I was just paring down from the line. Like this. And then we're going to come in and do something a bit similar to this way. Make sure we've got cleared out before we go too mad. Clean it up. I'm just trying to make sure I get into my line. You see, I just changed my hand grip. The beauty of doing a lot of carving, it means you can work with both hands, and I would suggest you learn to do that. I'm afraid you're going to have to look at my back for a second, guys, just while I finish this off. here, it's not perfect because I do need to refine it a bit more. But a rebate can be cut perfectly acceptably with just a chisel. If we wanted to refine it a bit more, we could take rebate plane now from the basic toolkit. And we could then refine it with this plane. Now this one's a bit small. This one is small enough it could have been done entirely with the rebate plane anyway. But this is a hell of a lot quicker than having to do the whole thing with your rebate plane, especially for big rebates, because sometimes you can't do big rebates at all with the plane. But then we can just tidy up our chisel work. With a few strokes of the rebate plane. Now, we can't get into without taking the depth stop off the side here, and I'm not going to do that with that plane because that depth stop is a pig on that plane. So I'm just going to take a different plane. I could do it with that one, but I've got to take the depth stop off and it's not very good on that plane. But it also means that, like this, you can use completely unfenced rebate planes to make your rebates. If you are willing to do the chisel work to start with, you can make a rebate using a chisel. If you're willing to, you can then finish them with unfenced rebate planes. Because that rebate isn't going to change size, it's going to get deeper this way, but it isn't going to change size any with me using a plane that doesn't have a fence. Okay, so basic skills that we all need to learn and we all need to practice and we all need to use. I don't do this as often as I should now, I'll admit, you know, because I have moulders, I have other ways. But it's something we need to remember to do because it can get us out of trouble on site. You know, if that was a repair now for a door lining, you know, I'd have my rebate ready to go in my repair section. I could let that in. You know, we must remember there's more than one way to skin a cat in the joinery world, and that's one of them. You know, and for big rebates that don't matter, that you're not going to see, there's no reason why you can't just hog them out anyway with a chisel and not worry about tidying them up. For something like a door, I would tidy them up with a plane like that or with my badger plane, you know. But it is possible to cut rebates perfectly acceptably with just a chisel. So this is part one of the what we can do with the basic toolkit videos. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.